just speaking as a dude, right? A country guy, you know, I'm just telling you right now. I mean, I talk to lots of guys, you know, I'm a bro. So when you talk to people, no one's looking at her and saying, this is the strong leader. It's not a sexist thing to say.
I'm just saying,
which is
if you feel the need to defend yourself this vehemently after saying something that can be perceived as deeply sexist, then you probably should have thought a lot more about what you wanted to say, as fellow panelist Ashley Allison will point out.
What black women do you see as strong? And what black women do you have in your life right now?
It's not about race. I know plenty of strong black women. It's not
in your life?
Don't bring up the race thing.
Well, we are human beings, and the way we engage with things is by proximity. And if you've never really connected to a strong black woman in your life, then maybe you don't actually understand what her strength is and where it comes from.
I think Ashley definitely handled Taylor well for his sexist comment, talking about, do you actually know strong black women in your life? Like, for real. I think maybe she could have gone further to read him, but she definitely handled him, in my opinion. And just for context, Taylor, a one-term U.S. congressman and failed Senate candidate, backed Donald Trump's calls to cut Medicare and Social Security funding, voted to repeal the Affordable Care Act, and supported the Muslim travel ban as well as Trump's tax cuts for the rich. Voting with the insurrectionist ex-president's positions a staggering 98% of the time. And that's not even getting into the scandal involving multiple of his campaign staffers forging names on a petition to get a third-party candidate on the ballot during his race in 2018, which he ended up losing anyway.
I've come to the conclusion that mansplaining is the female version of how men consider nagging.
Yep.
It's like they were nagging him and he was mansplaining them.
Something you may have noticed if you've been paying attention to conservative media is how they play into deeply rooted misogynistic attitudes and conceptions of traditional masculinity already present in their voter base. Look no further than these clowns.
The left want to define traditional masculinity as toxic. They want to define the traditional masculine virtues, things like courage and independence and assertiveness, as a danger to society. I want to focus tonight on the deconstruction of men, not because I think men are more important, but because I believe the attack on men has been the tip of the spear in the left's broader attack on America. And because this attack, the attack on men, is already far advanced.
The lie is that by being a man, you make the world a worse place. The lie is that we don't need strong, responsible men in the world and that all masculinity is toxic. That's false. All of those things are false, Harrison. The book is about, it's a call to arms to men.
You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
Of me kind of doing the Jim from The Office thing, like looking into the camera.
That's what I was thinking. Is like you have to have known. Like, can you believe how easy this is?
But it's because I wish I could take credit for it, but it's because the timer is right by the camera. So I was just, I was trying to pay attention to what he's saying, but then you have to be ready for when his time's up, because then it's your turn to speak. And so I was looking at the timer to figure out. I was about to speak.
Amazing.
I know, but it spawned a million viral memes. So
got a question from Kevin here. I'll read it off. Kevin is curious. How do we stop indoctrination? Look, it's a big problem, but I think that the way that we should understand this is that the left-wing indoctrination in our society, it starts somewhere. It's like a cancer. And, if you know how cancer works, I'm not a scientist, but my understanding is that basically you get a tumor in one place and you try to cut out that tumor before it spreads all over the body.
J.D. Vance can try his hardest to look and act like a normal person and appear like the manly man conservative voters latch on to, but anyone with more than 2 brain cells can see that this has always been an act about scoring political points.
He also brought his wife to my comedy show and they hung out after. That's right. I saw you loving all that woke. JD, you know you loved it. I came to my show. We hung out afterwards at the bar, drunk beers. You know what we talked about? This is all we talked about. All we talked about was the existential threat we agreed Donald Trump posed to this country. That's all we talked about. So while I was not charmed by the man, in fact, it was like pounding bears with a spreadsheet, I did leave there thinking at least there's some sane Republicans left. I understand that my people struggle not due to some inborn cultural affliction, but due to the capricious malice of the masters that he now serves.
For me, the reason why traditional rigid gender roles and the qualities associated with them play so well with right-wing voters, so much that they blindly accept anyone into that fold, is because they take more pride in that than anything else. Whether it has to do with how they're treated, right? How they're going to be impacted from a financial standpoint for different bills and legislation. It's no, if I have a candidate who's going to be macho, I'm gonna vote for that person even if they're gonna stab me in the back. And they're not gonna look out for me when it comes to other policy matters, period. You know, it's crazy. And I think part of it is because Republicans, a lot of them are from affluent neighborhoods, or at least financially comfortable backgrounds. They have additional education, often multiple degrees, and they're actively trying to make their constituents' lives worse while further enriching people who couldn't care less about how policies that benefit them impact everyone else. And it's like all it takes is a pair of cowboy boots, some jeans, and a flannel, and those same politicians just act like they're another regular person. But again, the reason why it works so well with these voters is because they view masculinity and being this strong alpha male as number one over so many other more important things that actually impact their lives. Okay? It's crazy, but that's where we are in America. For LHQ, I'm Chris Williams, and we'll see you next time.